What? No, basically, I remember when we had this idea 3 or 4 weeks ago, Epic of Gilgamesh, Satosuku fic. And then I started audiobooking the Epic of Gilgamesh. And I don't know what version I'm listening to, but it was quite understandable. I thought the language was just gonna be a lot more difficult to understand, but I was tracking along and I was like, yeah, don't ask me their names, I don't remember. Gilgamesh, Gojo, for sure. And the whatever person, Suguru, canon. And I think I looked it up. I looked it up on AO3 and I was like, has anybody done this? I don't think it's been done yet. So, guys.
If we're going Greek mythology, Orpheus, Eurydice.
But unfortunately that's its own bubble. Do people
what?
Do people write fan fiction?
About Hades Town? Or about that specific Greek?
Well, I mean, I just know that like Orpheus and Eurydice, like I know there's fan fiction of them.
Well, yeah, there probably is. That musical made that Greek mythology, that Greek tragedy really popular.
Wasn't there already like a webtoon or a comic or something that was super popular?
Ooh, are you thinking of Lore Olympus?
Oh, maybe.
Because that had nothing to do with them outside of the fact that it's Greek mythology. That's about Hades and Persephone.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm thinking of.
And it's totally different. Really interesting. I binged like the first 100 episodes of that like webtoon when it first came out.
Yeah. Not good?
No, it was good. It was really interestingly thought out, but I was very tired of waiting at a certain point. Like once it got to like where I was caught up and I was like waiting for things to come out, I understood she was like trying to build the story and the drama and all the stuff, which I totally understood. But because I already know like the outcome of the story technically, I was like, girl, get there. And like respectfully, she's drawing it.
Yeah.
And she's telling the story in a really new, unique way that emphasizes a lot of things that she felt were really important, which was a really cool way to do it. Using characters that everybody knows, either likes or doesn't like, has already strong opinions about, and then taking other characters that people have strong opinions about and using them. Like, most people hate Zeus, reasonably. Kind of a sucky guy, right? And in this, he sucks just as much as you expect him to. And he does good and he does bad and he does middle ground stuff, and it's kind of what you're expecting. Hades is like an up-in-the-air character. People either like him or they don't. Sometimes you have middle ground space with him. Usually you don't. They either like him or they don't. Percy Jackson fans would say Hades is like, okay, he's solid. He's a cool uncle figure, I guess. Mm-hmm. She makes him likable. All of the things he's done, potentially, she like rose-colored glasses that one really well. I wouldn't say Persephone herself is problematic. She's not. She ends up in a lot of intense situations, but I think the author puts her in those situations to discuss certain topics. Have you read Lore Olympus?
No, it was popular, whatever.
It was.
Like 10 years ago.
Yeah. I could probably buy the books now. She's put out like printed copies.
It's incredible how adjacent I was to all of the things that I'm
currently
into now.
Knee deep in?
Yes.
Webtoon, anime.
I was so close. I was so close. And it's by the grace of God.
I take full credit, by the way, for this transformation.
This could not have happened at 15. If this happened at 15, listen, I was already homeschooled and socially awkward. Comes with the territory. I didn't need this anime and webtoons on my side.
Well, I didn't get into anime till I was a senior or junior.
Yeah.
In high school. And then even then, I didn't jump into webtoons till I was in college. And that was after I went a weird direction. I was like, anime, K-dramas, which slay. And then I was like, what is this Lore Olympus business? And that's actually what got me into webtoons, was Lore Olympus. I've backtracked a little from webtoons because they're so easy to like scroll. But I also refuse to buy coins. I refuse. That's where I'm at. I'm like, I'm loving webtoons, but I will not buy coins. Now, I will totally do the ad pass thing. If it's like something that's out fully and you just want me to watch a stupid ad. Oh, yeah. You know what? I grew up with cable TV. I don't mind. I'm not buying coins yet. I don't know. I'm getting real close. No. I want to finish my story because you know what's going to happen? I'm going to lose interest. Is it all the way out? I have no idea. Probably not. How do you not have any idea when you open it? It opens to all the episodes, or the chapters, or whatever they're called. Well, how do you know if they're still making them though? Because it won't show up. It'll say completed at the top. If it's completed. I'm not looking. The way you don't look at tags. Yeah. I'm like, oh, that looks good. What are you reading right now? Oh my gosh, I'm reading. Hey, it's got quite a few chapters. If you don't binge it like I did, it's really good. It's called Selfish Love. It's so good. Before that, I forget what I was reading because I got tired of waiting. It was called something like Our Night Shift. Our Night Shift. They're both just silly little romances. They're That's where
Great.
I was. And then I took a really weird sidestep. Not a weird sidestep, it's a great sidestep into the top dungeon farmer, and that's just where I've been. And there's other ones now that have come out that are really similar, and I'm like, I'm just gonna stick to this one. I wanna know if we're ever gonna see the human form of the dragon girl that I don't remember the name of, sorry in advance. I wanna know what's gonna happen with the Princess Bunny and Black Bunny. Somebody tell me, I wanna know. I wanna know if Bear is ever gonna figure out, like, if he wants another name or not. He just calls him Bear.
Bear.
That's what he says. Before he could understand animals, Bear just said Bear. They called him Bear because he's unimaginative, but it's part of his charm. Also, I just need to know what's happening on the lower floors with the now XP farming. There's so many things I need to know. But you know what we were supposed to talk about today?
That we were supposed to talk about last time. It's just gonna keep getting pushed off.
Well, we got really close when we talked about like Greek mythology.
Yeah.
And then we sidestepped into webtoons.
And-
But you know what?
That's fine.
It's cool. Welcome to another episode of Fanfics and Friends. You're so high and I was so not there. Today we were going to talk about art and why fanfiction is considered and should be considered art and why art's important. Mm-hmm. We were almost there.
We were just so close to being on topic, and then
But Lore Olympus, backtrack to that. Great example of using art in a way that's highly meaningful. Mm-hmm. At least it was meaningful for the author and most of the audience. She was discussing really intense topics in Lore Olympus frequently. She discusses rape, depression, she discusses how you view yourself. Art is usually about expressing yourself.
or your beliefs or something that has impacted you. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's always beautiful, but I think beautiful is a very subjective term, especially regarding art, because everyone's perspective is different, right? And beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And sometimes it's not visually beautiful, but the purpose and the meaning is beautiful. So Lore Olympus is a great example. The art is beautiful in Lore Olympus, don't get me wrong. Her use of color is genius, okay? And her art is beautiful, but her storytelling is also beautiful, and that's a form of art as well, like fan fiction. And I just think she used her platform and her art to say really, really specific things that were really appreciated by most of her audience, honestly. Especially because she attempted to make sure she told the story from all sides, and it wasn't like balanced one way or the other. Generally speaking, it wasn't all like, oh, men are this way or women are this way or certain people group are this way. She tried to like keep it relatively like broad, but still also being specific. It was a good read, and then I got really angry because I was tired of waiting.
Impatient.
And my impatience outweighed the beauty of her art. Sorry. That's what fanfiction is for, actually.
I was actually at, not intentionally because we were filming this today, but this weekend I was at an art museum.
Oh, okay.
I had not been to the one in town, like the big one,
Oh,
ever.
you were there? Mm-hmm. Slay.
And one, loved it. I love museums. I love art museums. I just don't make time to go.
It's mostly modern, and I've got opinions on that.
It was not. They had...
Is that the one you were at, though?
Yes. We were there, and they have, all the different sections, and I think they had specifically some donations from, a lot from Peru. There's a lot of Peruvian art. It was just so interesting looking at the contrast between the South American art and then the colonial American art, because that's where a lot of that... So with the South American art, it's a lot of pottery, and there's some kind of like sculpting, like wood sculpting or beading, and like a lot of ceremonial wear, dress wear, and things like that. And the American, and of course this is also hundreds if not thousands of years later, so things change, times change. But the American, specifically what they had on display was so many portraits. So many portraits. It was just portraits of some people that were notable, but some people, they didn't have names. They were just like rando people. Kind of where you're talking about like stories and characters, the way that is expressed in our art. Like I think at the heart of all art, yes, you're trying to express something, but a lot of times you're trying to express the human condition. You're trying to express how you've been hurt by people, or how people made you feel, or how they've impacted your life in some way. And in that conflict and in that comes a story. And it was so interesting to see, because even, compared to the Peruvian art from hundreds and hundreds of years ago, you could see and you could feel in certain pieces that this person met. Even if it was just literally, there was a couple pieces that looked like a plank of wood that they had just carved into this like simple shape of a person, but you could tell, like, if you read like the plaque, it had so much meaning, and it was like to put on the burial in this part meant that it was a girl, and this part they like think that because the mouth is open it meant that she was a speaker, and all this kind of stuff. And because when I left, my friend that I was with asked me, they're like, what was your like least favorite part of the museum and what was your favorite part of the museum? And it was interesting because I initially, and now that I'm like thinking it through, initially I thought that my least favorite part was the American section, because I was like, I just didn't really care. I don't really care about these random people that I don't know. I mean, sure, it's like cool that you can make a realistic looking painting, but not really for me. But now thinking about it, I'm like, that's really beautiful for them, because they thought that that person meant so much to them, or this particular image of the person like this meant so much to them, that they wanted to take the time to capture that and immortalize that of them in this specific instance. So, and I think we do the same thing in storytelling. We want to capture how an interaction made you feel, or to try to best describe it, because sometimes people don't, I feel like I don't express myself as well as I wish I could, and I think a lot of people feel that way. And sometimes I feel bad for people that would not consider themselves artistic, because I think for artistic people, that's a lot of, they feel like they can't get it out verbally or just in a general sense, so they have to find some other outlet.
I think most things boil down to stories, whether it's with words or with images or with color or, whatever media you choose. Like literature and poetry is art that's really interesting, because it's not art that you always visually consume. Sometimes you're hearing it. Like slam poetry is super cool. Not like rando slam poetry, but like, it's
spoken
good.
Word.
It's just intense too sometimes, especially because at first you're like, okay, and then they get,
well, sometimes it makes you uncomfortable.
well, it can.
Yeah.
But it's, you always know, especially with like some of them, they start with a certain tone and you're like, okay, this is going one of two ways. And then they get to the actual point that they're trying to make and you're like, that was crazy. Like, it doesn't deserve snaps, bro. Be real. It's even more beautiful because you can read it on your own and like take it, but when you watch them say it, there's just something so different about watching somebody say something. But then, balance that, right? Movies are great. You get to see the expression and all of it, but books, you get the inside. You're getting more of their thoughts. I'm so serious. I know you think I'm funny, but you get their insides, you get the thoughts, you're gonna get a description of their face.
It's the only way you're ever gonna get somebody's internal dialogue.
Yes, and
Ever.
It's always so much more interesting, to me at least, because you're not just getting how it's being received or perceived, you're getting their own perception of themselves, right? And that's just so interesting to me. Because, like, we'll go with Ronald Weasley. I'm gonna always take it back to Harry Potter, be real. But in the books, actually, I could have picked somebody from the board. Actually, no, he's a great example, because we don't even get his perspective,
This
really.
is Snape.
Yeah, sorry, Snape. Snape's a great example, because we don't really get his perspective. We only get Harry's perspective of Snape, which is skewed in the sense that Harry's opinion of Snape and Harry's opinion of Snape's opinion of him very much colors how he views everything Snape does. But Alan Rickman gives such very distinct, I don't know what to call it. He just portrays Snape in a...
Micro-expressions.
Yes, his micro-expressions are very amazing. But you're still confused, because an expression can mean so many different things. A raised eyebrow doesn't always mean, like, how dare you. It can also mean, what are you trying to say to me? Or, oh yeah? Like, one thing can mean so much. It's all context related, and Harry doesn't know the context till the end. Now, would I have named my son after him? Absolutely not. Is that relevant? No. Am I serious? Yes. But I feel like when you're reading the books, Snape is almost too black and white word on the page, because it is Harry's perspective. Snape in the movies, you're more confused by him, but that's because Alan Rickman is really slay. Like, if you'd put some other random British person, I'm sure they would have done him justice. But Alan Rickman is, one, stage trained killer. Two, he's just really good at especially the micro expressions, and it's not even always, it's like lack of expression sometimes, I feel like, with him. He just keeps it blank, and it's everything else.
There's a method, I don't remember what the actual term is called, but and sometimes you use it before you go on stage. But my one of my teachers used to say, like, before you go on stage, you just literally need to think of yourself as bigger. Like, physically, like, think you're 10 feet tall before you walk on the stage. And it's kind of, I think, like, he has a lot of that. Not necessarily bigger, but just thinking that he's holding himself in a certain way. When
Really
he carries
similarly,
himself.
not Bradley James, who plays Arthur in Merlin, but the guy who plays Merlin, ooh, I'll think of his name here in a second. Colin Morgan. He, stage. Almost strictly stage. Don't ask me how BBC got him into it. I don't know what they did. I don't know what they told him. But his expressions, not his micro expressions, because he has them.
Macro expression.
No, his macro expressions take me out. I'm like, that was a lot of feeling really quickly too, because he'll change expressions so fast. And this is like a silly, goofy show most of the time. And I'm like, holy crap. Similarly, not in his face, I don't know his name, apologies, the voice actor for Tanjiro from Demon Slayer, Japanese sub. His voice actor is insane. I don't know if you haven't seen Demon Slayer, but
I have not seen Demon Slayer, but I have seen those behind the scenes clips of him on
the ground.
floor.
And you believe
And you know
him.
what? I appreciate that.
No,
that's incredible.
Well, and you can hear it. Like, obviously you can't hear that he's on the ground, but you hear the agony in his... He screams a lot in that show, but it's not like the Eren Yeager scream. It's like wailing. Oh, no, I'm so serious. I know. It's actually worse that I'm serious. But, like, you hear his agony always because he is in pain. And it's not like physical pain always, almost never. Most of his pain is like this deep emotional, and it's so impressive and impresses upon you the weight because he does such a good job of conveying it.
And it's great. It's all voice too.
Yes.
You cannot see. I mean,
no, I mean you can see the.
Of course, and that comes
the
back
animation
to the art,
helps.
right? And that's animation and art and drawing.
But there's an art to using your voice like that.
Yes.
Because I feel like operas like that. Mm-hmm. Right? They're doing a whole lot that I can never even imagine to figure out how to do. What's that movie? Gladiator? I know, we're taking turns, but we're getting back to music. Gladiator, Hans Zimmer. There's a female vocalist that I don't know the name of, and she sings most of that soundtrack. She's in a lot of that score, and her voice is beautiful, and it's very unique, and it portrays a lot of feeling that I don't think just anyone else could have done. And it's really cool because the language she's speaking in is not a real language. It's her heart language between her and God, apparently, which is super cool. That's super cool, but it's hard to replicate.
Yeah.
And you can kind of hear the reverence and there's just something a little mystical about her voice because of what she's singing about, which is mostly just the story told in Gladiator and the love, but also the immense amount of hate in that story. Super cool. But that's an artistry I could never, like, put myself in and be like, I'm capable of this. I would never choose to express myself that way because I don't think I would do it justice. Whereas I could write, I could play piano, but I would never be like, I'm gonna sing. But it's super cool. And, like, art isn't always that kind of beautiful, but hers is just, it's stunning. It's crazy.
I went down a YouTube rabbit hole however many weeks ago, and it was this guy who he does... it was a scholar and then this ancient text scholar musician guy, and basically they were looking over the original manuscripts, or as close to the original manuscripts of the Psalms that they had. If you're unfamiliar with the Psalms, it's a book in the Bible, and it's one of the poetry books, and a lot of it is written poetry and music. And they noticed with the, I think is it Hebrew? Is that the Old Testament's Hebrew?
Uh-huh.
In the Hebrew, there was the characters, of course, written in, but they noticed in the Psalms there were these markings that didn't match up to any of the Hebrew or anything like that. Anyway, this has been years and years and years that they've been working out this and noticing this, but they figured out that it was their way of basically like sheet music. It was their way.
They were marking.
It was music. Yes, it was.
Whoa.
In order to. So there's this video. It's on YouTube. And I'll have to look at it. I'll have to send it to you. I mean, I'll link it in the bio or something. I don't know. But they basically constructed what they think that it would have sounded like to be singing these psalms in the original language with the original music. And it's like that.
That's so cool.
It's a different way of art and different way of expressing, and it's so human, and it's so, like, you can connect with it. I think that's so interesting. And I feel the same way whenever, I hear songs in different languages. Like, I love listening to music in different languages, even though I don't understand what they're saying. It's like that heart, like the human heart.
Uh-huh. Well, even if you look up the words.
Yeah.
The translation, translation is always about getting the point across, not actually word for word, which is better anyway, because you want to fully understand. But even then, it's not the same. And so, yeah, I might know what the words mean, but it feels different than just listening to it in that language.
Yeah, in their native language or native tongue.
Yeah, it's just, it's cool.
But where that relates, I guess, we're talking about how fan fiction is art and should be considered art. And I'm not even sure that it's not considered. I think often fan fiction gets, we know it gets a bad rap, or it gets picked on because there is just, it's silly a lot of the time.
And there's some stuff in there, it should be.
And there's some stuff in there that's
a little bit, but to be so fair, there are some things in art that are not great either.
No.
Like, historically, what do they call that? You wanted to be in like a guild, an artist guild. They were very, very picky. Mm-hmm. They were very subjective. And it was about class, and it was about race, and it was about gender. And some of the best artists in the world
We're the worst people.
Well, and forget that, some of the best artists were not known until today, because they weren't in a guild, they weren't part of a group, they weren't trained by so-and-so, because they weren't given those opportunities. And even really famous artists like Picasso, he tells some amazing stories of his own history. But some of his art, to me, at least personally, questionable. It just is. I went to a gallery that was all Picasso. And some of it I was like, but then there's these sketches of his daughter, and they're beautiful. They look nothing like his paintings. They are not abstract or cubist or anything. They're these pencil sketches. And you can, every line, you can tell how much he cares about his daughter. And then you look at the painting of his son, and you're like, what happened? You're like,
Wow. You do have a favorite.
Or his painting of women. Very different. Very different. And I think one, Picasso's whole history is really unique and interesting and thought-provoking, but not all art feels good. And not all art says good things. I mean, historically, right? The Nazis took a symbol that was not theirs and made it something it wasn't. But they had their own, they stole art, but that's also separate from making art, to be honest. But there's just a lot of negative things in art as well that you have to recognize, I think, to see the beautiful side of things.
Yeah, it's like in life.
Right, because you can't have dark without light, you can't have good without bad, you can't have beauty without
Well, you don't,
whatever
I mean,
balance
yeah,
of
you don't
beauty.
appreciate it. Right, if you don't.
Right. Well, and it's like almost harder to see it if you don't recognize the two sides or the multiple facets. I feel like there's multiple facets to most things. It's not just black and white, right? It's
Layers and perspective.
Right, because in the end, perspective is reality, unfortunately. How you perceive something is how you're gonna react. I feel like fan fiction is...
Yeah, it's absolutely art. I think where it differs, or where it kind of makes its own home, is that it's not original, but it is, right? Because you're taking
characters that already exist.
You're taking characters that already exist. But if we're going back to the heart of art, it's expressing really how you feel about something or how something else made you feel. So, and with a lot of authors, I think it's because they found a lot of comfort. I know that's why I read, right? You find a lot of comfort in a certain character and certain ways that they are, the certain struggles that they have, and you latch onto them, and that's kind of what the basis is, I think, for a lot of authors in writing fan fiction. Is I want to express this person, this character that I really relate to, and I feel like can express myself even better than I can express myself. I want to put them in situations where I felt like I want to express myself better.
I'm going to express myself with this, and it'll be easier if I'm not doing it with me. I'm going to project...
Yes, I'm going to project onto this character.
No, the number... You don't read tags. The number of tags that involve me projecting onto X and Y, Z character is immense. But I think it's because it's easier to express yourself without fully exposing yourself. But you do, you just don't fully realize it until you're already heart bared on a platter to be seen. Because you're using characters that you're comfortable with. But it's also partially, I think it's because it's people you know well. It's characters, it's situations that you're familiar with. But then it's also things people can identify with. You're writing to and for people, including yourself, and you want to get a certain point across. And it's really easy to start reading something that you're familiar with. And I think that's a really interesting part of fan fiction, is people writing with characters that a lot of people know. And it's like, I've never thought about this situation this way, but I wouldn't have gotten here if I hadn't been looking for XYZ character or XYZ.
And I think another thing that art does inadvertently, and we've seen it do, is it forms community among people. I think that's something that fan fiction
is very good at.
Because you're getting a group of people that already like the same character. And then in like some, I mean...
Well, it opens the door for discussion.
Yeah, I was like, you know what goes on in those comment sections. And like people truly, I mean, talk about kind of a parasocial relationship with these people that most of the time you don't even know their real name.
Yeah.
But
author's notes, I feel like you can do a long fic or even a short fic. Those author's notes express probably more than anyone thought they ever would. But you wouldn't read them unless you're reading the fic.
Yeah, you wouldn't necessarily care. And it is interesting, as humans, we can get so caught up in ourselves that we forget that we're, a couple conversations away from finding a point of interest together. And it's usually those points of interest that really make us care about a person more, when we find out we have not even similar interests, but that we have something that we can talk about, something in common.
Right.
then you start building the layers of that relationship. So I think it's really cool that we live in a time where the internet can be a really terrible thing and it can really tear you down. And that community also, it's not excluded from that. There's a lot of hate comments that I'm sure get thrown around on AO3 or Wattpad or whatever. But it's cool that there is still that community. Mm-hmm. And that we're able to have that multiculturally.
Generationally. A little scary sometimes, though.
Yeah.
Mind your tags. And your ratings and your warnings. But it kills me when I do read an author's note and they're like, sorry, my job and my kids. And I'm like, yeah.
Like,
and then you read another one and they're like, man, high school's murderous. And I'm like, the other day, I don't remember what I was reading, but they were like, man, this Texas summer's killing me. And I was like, I don't think you meant to say that.
You just outed your location, question mark?
Did you want to do that? And I think they mentioned, they didn't mention their school by name, but they mentioned a school, and I was like, stop talking for your own safety, please.
Can you DM on AO3? Private message? Private comment?
Discovery time? I have no idea. I'd have to look.
I don't either. I don't comment on anything.
Kudos sometimes.
Occasionally. I'm privately bookmarking that. Thank you. I'm not even publicly bookmarking it, and my username isn't even anything that anyone would know, but that's just for me.
That's your choice.
Yeah.
You're allowed to make it.
Anyway, was that informative?
Was that informative? I think it was just a broad discussion that you should join.
Yeah. I don't know. I would like to hear y'all's thoughts, or comments or opinions, or just pieces of art that have spoken to you. Whatever that is. Sorry, we share the same brain cell occasionally. I also consider video games art.
Well, they are.
There have been so many video games that I feel like personally have impacted me. So I think that's another form that often gets, similar to fan fiction, kind of gets pushed aside, or is like, that's not real, that's not like the arts.
I think maybe moving forward it'll become more mainstream and seen as art because the way technology is slowly working its way into art.
Yeah.
Right? Because I don't think people ever considered CNC routers as art when they probably were first introduced to the world, but they're used so often in art schools. Plasma cutters, laser cutters, they're perfect for art.
Oh my gosh, I remember when 3D printers, one of our family friends got his hands on a 3D printer right at the very beginning of them coming out. I was not very old. I didn't even understand. I was like, you can print 3D images. I just thought he meant an image that looked 3D on paper. I was like, why are we acting like this is revolutionary? But I actually got to see it happen. I was like, whoa.
Well, it's cool. 3D printers are used for all kinds of things. They're used for architecture now, and I'm like, that's insane.
Yeah.
Well, that's its own
category. They're also used for, cosplay.
Though they're used for so many things.
Yeah. Yeah, I think moving forward, I would hope that video games would kind of get brought into the art world because, there's just there's so many
aspects. There's storytelling. Right?
Music.
The music is usually crazy.
Oh my gosh, the music is beautiful.
What's the one game with the dude?
Zelda?
No. Music is great in Zelda though. No, it's like a little skeleton.
Undertale?
Yeah.
Undertale, Toby Fox.
So I like the music in that game.
Music in that game
but the music is good.
The game also took me out.
Oh, I know. My brother was like,
oh my gosh. It called me out the first time I played it through. I was like, maybe I'm a terrible person. Okay. One game, and then we'll be done with this topic. Journey of the Broken Circle. Play it. I played it in college, and I sobbed at the end of it. Now, I was going through a lot. Probably didn't warrant that. But it spoke to me at the time, and it's what I needed at the time. And I just think that, not that all art is meant to speak to you at a certain time, and that all art is created for you, but it can do that, and it's to be appreciated and taught to the next generation, just as much as any other subject in school is taught. Because it's important.
Yeah. It's actually really crazy that art has become less and less important when it used to help facilitate power.
Well,
I've never considered that, actually.
I don't know that it is weird that it's becoming thought of as less and less important, but I almost feel like it's reverting back to
being more important.
Well, and being more important, but it's reverting back to what it originally, the whole artist they don't get paid kind of thing, which is so interesting because all through...
Well, that's a weird dichotomy anyway, because if you think about it, the artist guilds were so intense. Mm-hmm. But again...
But they weren't.
It's the people who can afford to be there.
Right.
That were there. And were influential. They already had power. They already had money. And they're just paying people with power and money, or paying those people with power and money to do things.
And that's how you know that it's really important when the world tries to snuff it out. That you know that something is really meant to speak to people and impact people when there's just a lot of pushback with it. I mean...
Or control.
Or over it.
Right? I'm so sorry. Taylor Swift is a great example of that. Her art was very controlled, and now that's in her hands. She already had, like, she had some leeway, but now she's intentionally doing certain things because her art is now fully hers. Sorry, she's just the most recent example I can think of.
Yeah, I don't know another example, but yeah.
I mean, like Van Gogh, good example. He decided to work within his own realm. In the same time period, Gauguin was making big money. We don't like him. We don't talk about him. I'm not saying his name ever again. But I actually do prefer Van Gogh's art. And not because like one was better than the other, but because I think Van Gogh was fully expressing himself exactly the way he wanted to. And I think you can feel the difference sometimes.
Well, and I've always said there are artists and there are performers. And they are different. And you can be a performer, even like when you're talking about like textile art. Like,
I think the same is true in like writing.
yeah.
Because like the Hunger Games, the first 3, I think tell a really straight story. And the next couple are trying intentionally to be more politically overt than I think the original 3. I think the original 3 obviously are. You can't escape that. But it was more about Katniss than anything. Whereas the other ones have these characters in it, but it's using very narrow and straight. Whereas like other stories, like Peter Pan is a great example. It's a children's story. And yeah, there are themes in it that are brought up and put in there for a reason, but it's just a story about being a child. And when you grow up and lose your childlike identity versus holding on to it intentionally, and how that affects who you become and how you see yourself.
Yeah, really, really tough themes for a kid's book.
Well,
I don't even know if that I would really consider that a kid's book.
at the time it was. Kids are,
Yeah, grim fairy tales. That's true. Kids were used to it.
well, they were, and I think especially like the middle lower classes, they were used to seeing things that like upper class kids knew about but weren't. I think Jane Barry was just super real. Plus he was writing for kids who were disillusioned anyway, because that's Captain Hook, disillusioned. Sorry, Gillian.
Anyway.
I feel like we got really mellow.
Yeah, we really, it's called coming in for a landing. Guys, we're getting good at this. Hey, next time.
Oh, do you know what the name is?
No. Next.
Okay.
It's by Anonymous, though.
Is it really? Yeah. I'm so sorry. I didn't even notice that.
By Anonymous, we're going to be talking about Earth's mitoist heroes.
But it's also like in quotations. We'll make it.
We're going to be talking about that, and we're going to be touching on...
Reading slumps.
Reading
Technically, more
slumps.
specifically.
Yeah.
So join us for that.
Yeah. We'll catch you next time. Bye.